The dojo hummed with energy, a mix of sweat and confidence hanging thick in the air. Students shuffled across the mat, their belts a spectrum of colors, their movements sharp with purpose. Then a voice sliced through the rhythm, sharp and smug, like a blade cutting through silk. "You're in the wrong place, sweetheart. Yoga's next door." The instructor's words landed like a slap, loud enough for every head to turn. He stood at the front, pointing at her, his smirk wide as laughter rippled through the room. A wave of snickers from students, too eager to please. Emily Parker didn't move. She didn't blink. Her back stayed straight, her eyes calm, unyielding. A simple gray t-shirt clung to her frame, her white belt tied tight at her waist. No flashy gear, no loud attitude, no need to prove anything to anyone, yet something about her quiet presence seemed too great on him. Like a stone in his shoe, he couldn't shake. He turned away with a scoff, tossing another jab loud enough for all to hear. "We don't babysit grocery girls here." That one cut deeper, personal and pointed, aimed to sting. She'd heard it before, those dismissive sneers at the checkout line where she worked late nights for MidnightTales. At the gym, at school, people saw what they wanted. Soft, small, quiet. They never bothered to look beneath the surface, never thought to ask what lay behind her stillness. The class pressed on, the instructor's voice booming over the clatter of cutter drills and the sharp cries of sparring prep. He barked orders, his praise reserved for the loudest, the flashiest, those who mirrored his bravado. To Emily, he offered only insults, each one veiled just enough to sting without drawing blood. "Too soft," he'd say, circling her. "Too slow. Loosen up unless ballet's your thing." The room chuckled nervously, students avoiding her gaze, their loyalty torn between discomfort and the urge to stay in his good graces. Emily said nothing. She moved through each drill with a precision that wasn't loud or forceful but fluid, grounded, intentional. Every step, every pivot, every block was efficient, like water flowing around a rock. It wasn't what he wanted. He expected her to fold, to flinch, to give him something to feed his ego. But she didn't. Her calm, her focus made him bristle. By the time the final exercise rolled around, the air in the dojo had shifted, heavy with anticipation. He clapped twice, sharp and commanding. "Let's wrap it up with a lesson," he said, his eyes locking onto her, a predator sizing up prey. "New girl, you and me." The room froze. No one sparred with the instructor on their first day. This wasn't training. It was a spectacle, a public humbling meant to put her in her place. The other students exchanged glances, some smirking, others shifting uncomfortably. Emily didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, bowed, and took her place on the mat. The energy changed, the chatter falling silent, the mat a stage under invisible spotlights. He circled her, bouncing lightly on his toes, his stance relaxed but edged with aggression. "Defend yourself," he grinned, his tone dripping with condescension. He struck first a low kick, fast and precise. She shifted, dodging cleanly, her movement minimal but exact. He followed with a palm strike, strong and swift, meant to overwhelm. She blocked, her arm absorbing the force with barely a flinch. His eyes narrowed. No more games. He lunged, full force, a barrage of speed and pressure meant to bury her. But then it happened. In one seamless motion, Emily moved, pivot, drop, grab his wrist, twist, leverage, not strength, timing, not force. His body hit the mat with a thud that sucked the air from the room. Silence. His ego shattered in the echo of that impact, the sound louder than any chord. She stepped back, bowed politely, and said nothing. No gloating, no smirk, no need to rub it in. The room stayed quiet, the weight of what just happened sinking in. What they didn't know, what none of them had thought to ask, was that Emily Parker wasn't new to this. She'd been training in traditional Aikido since she was 6, taught by her father in quiet dojos barefoot on hardwood floors. Year after year, no chasing belts, no hunger for praise. Her art was about energy, redirection, timing. It wasn't about force or ego or showing off for a crowd. She never wore a black belt, not because she hadn't earned one, but because she didn't need the label. Her strength was in her stillness, in the quiet power that didn't demand attention, but commanded it when the moment called. Emily had come to this dojo on purpose. She'd heard the stories how women were treated, how beginners were broken down, how the instructor ruled with a mix of charm and cruelty. She wasn't here for validation or glory. She came to confront a system that laughed too loud and listened a little. When they mocked her, belittled her, set her up to fail, she didn't argue or defend herself with words. She waited, and when the moment came, she let her skill speak. The instructor stood slowly, his eyes wide, his pride in pieces. He opened his mouth, but no words came. What could he say? That she got lucky, that he slipped. The room stayed frozen, the tension thick enough to choke on. Then slowly, one by one, the students began to clap. Not loud, not forced, just honest. Even the senior belts bowed in her direction, not because they were told to, but because they'd seen something real, not in flash or fury, but in control, in precision, in the quiet power that doesn't need to shout. Emily walked off the mat, picked up her bag, and left without a word, unshaken, unbothered, unforgettable. The next week, The dojo wall had a new rule posted in bold ink. No assumptions, only observation. Below it, a name. Emily Parker. The girl they mocked. The girl they underestimated. The girl who, in a single movement, taught them what power really looks like. Never judge someone by their belt, their job, or how quietly they carry themselves. Some of the strongest people in the room are the ones who wait for the perfect moment to reveal it. And when they do, they change everything. If this story of quiet strength and unexpected triumph inspired you, drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Share your thoughts, your own stories, or just a simple karma to keep the good vibes flowing. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Midnight Tales for more stories that remind us to look beyond the surface, to see the power in the quiet, and to celebrate those who rewrite the rules with their actions, not their words. Emily's story isn't just about a single moment on a dojo mat. It's a reminder that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, waiting for the right moment to make itself heard. She didn't come to that dojo to prove a point. To herself, she came to show others what they'd been too blind to see. Her presence was a challenge, not to the students or even the instructor, but to the assumptions they carried, the snap judgments they made. Every day she'd faced those same judgments at the grocery store where she scanned items late into the night, at school where her quiet demeanor made her invisible to those who prized noise, even in the gym where her small frame was mistaken for weakness. But Emily knew better. She'd learned early on that real power doesn't need a spotlight. It's in the discipline of showing up, day after day, honing your craft in the shadows. It's in the patience to wait for the moment when the world underestimates you, then proving it wrong with a single, undeniable act. That moment on the mat wasn't about humiliation for her. It wasn't about knocking the instructor down to lift herself up. It was about showing what's possible when you strip away ego and let skill stand alone. The students who laughed at her, who avoided her eyes during the insults, saw something new that day. They saw that mastery isn't in the loudest kai or the highest belt. It's in the ability to move with purpose, to act with clarity, to let your actions speak louder than any taunt. The dojo itself seemed to shift after that day. The air was different, the conversations quieter, more thoughtful. The instructor, for all his bravado, was changed too. He didn't speak of that sparring session again, but his tone softened, his jabs less frequent. The students noticed. They started watching each other differently, looking for the quiet ones, the ones who didn't boast or strut but carried something deeper. Emily didn't return to that dojo. She didn't need to. Her point was made, not in words but in the way she moved, the way she stood, the way she left without looking back. Her name on that wall was a new reminder etched in ink that assumptions are dangerous. That observation is the only true measure of a person. For those who watched her leave, she became a story they'd tell again and again. A legend born not from a single victory, but from the way she carried herself through a world that tried to make her small. So, wherever you're watching from, whether it's a bustling city or a quiet town, take a moment to think about the Emilys in your life. The ones who don't shout, who don't demand attention, but who, when the moment comes, show you what strength really means. Drop a comment below. Share your own stories of quiet power, and let's keep this conversation going on Midnight. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep shining a light on the stories that remind us to look deeper, to listen closer, and to never underestimate the quiet ones in the room. They just might be the ones who change everything.